The tension is super high. I mean, the nerves are the highest.
It's still a bigger bunch. Did you clip skates?
It's already in the dry, it's super hard to accelerate on them, but in the wet, it's basically impossible.
Hello everyone, today I am joined by Felix Rijhnen, multiple world champion and winner of the 2019 Berlin Marathon. I'm a little bit curious, or have been curious for a while, which is why we're doing this, because I would like to understand what is going on in your brain when you are racing. And more specifically, we picked the absolute nightmare of a race in 2019 Berlin. I think you can take us through just a little bit of what that was like.
Thanks for having me, Kasper. Obviously, you've been racing in Berlin that day as well. So yes. I think it's also nice to hear a bit your perspective and maybe my perspective. And yeah, obviously it was a really special day for me. The circumstances, the weather was, yeah, as you said, horrible.
Yes.
One of the worst I've experienced for inline race, and it was also the first time I've raced Berlin many times. But the start never got delayed. But actually, on that day, we were already standing in the start block, trying to get going, and then there came such a huge rain downpour that everybody tried to find some shelter and went out of the start block, and I think the start got postponed by at least 15 minutes or something.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I remember I didn't go to the start area quite yet because I was in the slower groups. Oh yeah, people standing in the toilets. I remember I didn't go to the start line just yet, so I could actually find some shelter in some of the the pavilions and so on. Yeah. But it was I think it rained 10 or 15 millimeters in 10 minutes just as we were about to go. It was a lot. Crazy. And we've been talking about it all day because the weather forecast had been a little bit dodgy.
Yeah, it wasn't super clear. Actually, we were still hoping until the very last moment that we might be able to race in the dry, which is still our favorite condition, let's say. But yeah, at some point it was clear, all right, today is going to be a wet one. Yeah. And then we still, especially Bart and me, we were testing wheels up until the last moment before the start. And actually our team manager at that point, Scott Arledge, he was there right at the start. I don't know how he was able to get through the security and stuff, but somehow he managed with our different rain wheels or different setups. And then Bart and me were skating up and down the starting street in the last few moments before the start and trying to find the best setup for that day. And yeah, I think that was part of the success that day, that we choose for the most grippy option we could find, because we will see it later that the roads were horrible slippery. Yeah.
How do you mentally prepare for something like that?
I think I don't need any special preparation, especially for Berlin. You know, it's one of the biggest days of the year, biggest marathon in the world. So motivation is no problem, you know. Yeah. And then at some point you realize, okay, you just have to suck it up. Yeah. Either rain, hail, snow, sunshine, it doesn't matter. It's about getting the best possible result on that day. And in Berlin, that's usually for us, for Team Powerslide, it's usually about getting the win.
Yes, of course. Of course. I feel like we should cut to the start at this point. Because usually there's quite the fight for positions in the beginning of each race. How does the start usually play out in just something like this?
I mean, especially in a race like Berlin, where the first start block is huge. There are a couple of hundred people standing at the start line. So kind of the start for position already starts in your position at the start line. Yeah. So Bart, Nolan and me, we were the lucky ones that we got the personal introduction before the start. So we get to line up actually in front of everybody else, a couple of centimeters. But all the guys behind us, they have to be smart in the way when they enter the start block and from which side and stuff. So they are as much in front as possible. Because especially in these tricky conditions, it's really easy that there happens a crash or a slip or whatever at the start. And even if you just have in the beginning of a marathon, if you have a 10-15 meter gap, it might be the end of your race, or you have to spend a lot of energy to close that gap, which obviously you don't want.
What is the feeling in the body when the gun is about to go off? Like you're quite experienced at this point, but
the tension is super high. I mean, the nerves are the highest in the moments just before the gun goes.
Yeah.
And especially in these conditions where, it's a bit unforeseeable what's gonna happen. You know, it could rain even more during the race. It could dry off during the race. It could be that a crash happens. It could be that there's a group going away where maybe we are not inside or whatever.
Yeah.
So the pressure is the highest in the moments before the gun goes, but then usually you're in the zone. You know, like you block everything out and you just focused on your tactic and on the race and on the competition. And here we can see Timothy Loubinot, my French teammate, basically putting the hammer down straight away, joined by Severin Wittmer, also one of the best rain skaters in the world. And you can already see that they're like the best of the best are positioning themselves after 300-400 meters already in the front.
Yeah, exactly.
And the guys who are maybe not so comfortable are quite far back already.
Yeah, because you're already seeing almost like a little group form.
Yeah. The first splits happening. You know, there's like the first roundabout, first corner coming, and the first splits in the pack. And for us, it's really important to stay as much in the front as possible, while also not wasting energy. So we don't want to hit the wind for the whole 42K.
Yeah.
There's maybe only Bart who does that sometimes, but for us regular humans, we also try to use the draft and save some energy as much as we can. So we can see Bart is having his first little dig, and if you know how comfortably and powerful he usually skates, this looks a little bit different. I guess you can see that as well. Looks feels a bit uncomfortable, and it was like this for all of us, because it felt like that day there was like a certain speed limit. Yeah. And you just simply couldn't go quicker.
Yeah. How long did it take to sort of, because obviously with the changing conditions, how quickly do you adapt to those conditions?
Usually it goes pretty quick. I mean, you go through the first 1 or 2 corners a bit more careful, and you're always trying to find the limit, but not going over the limit. Yeah. Like always looking for the grip limit of your wheels on over the asphalt. Yeah. And then you always try to hit it without going over, because if you go over and you slip, you might crash, or you might pull a muscle or whatever. Yeah. So you save those moments for the very end, like for the final sprint, basically, where you don't care about anything anymore. You just go all out. But especially in those early stages, you look for the limit. With every push, you see how far you can push and how strong you can push until you slip, and that's where you try to stay the whole time.
Yeah, because I remember this from having raced Berlin a couple of times by now, that the asphalt is not the most consistent.
No, there are parts like classic city cross, I guess. There are parts where the asphalt is new and smooth and great, but there are also parts where there are huge holes. There are sometimes these waves in the asphalt from all the cars, which is also very unique for Berlin. And that makes it already tricky in the dry, but in the rain it makes it even more special and even more difficult.
Yeah, and even worse, I feel, are the crosswalks, like the pedestrians, where they've laid down, the white.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because there is no grip.
No, for sure. Like every bit of white paint is usually, you try to avoid it as much as you can. Like that's also like super important to try, even though visibility is bad, because like we wear glasses, but at some point they fog up or they get rain onto them, sprayed onto them from either the rain itself or from people around you. And you really have to look like with every step where you are going, because if you lose your concentration, even just a moment, and you push too hard on a white line or on a slippery spot, yeah, you might be gone and your race might be over.
Actually, wait a minute, because now you're actually mounting an attack on this. What was it just to try to shake things up, or?
Yeah, basically it was about seeing how much damage I can do, and trying also to thin out the group a bit, because like I didn't feel comfortable. There's a pack of still around like 100 guys or something, and yeah, obviously we were looking to separate ourselves from as many people as possible.
Yeah.
And at that point I was still thinking we can race Berlin like normal, which means basically going on the attack, and basically Bart, me, Timothy, Jason, or ideally all of us wanted to be in a breakaway. It didn't take too much longer to notice that it was not going to happen that day, and we realized, okay, we will not be able to reach the finish line alone. So we have to think about a different strategy to take the win.
So at this point, we're sort of 13 minutes into the race. It's still a relatively young race, and Bart is about to launch an attack himself. Was that the same idea of like trying to thin out the group?
Yeah, definitely. Same style. So Bart is also trying to have a little dig. And you can actually see Timothy and me, we're kind of letting him go. So there's a small, narrow section on the road. We are also passing the girls' pack. So it's also a nice moment to give Bart some room and let him, well, you can see.
Yeah, you can see how slippery it is.
Slippery the corners are. And it's also about seeing, okay, who is having a good day, like who's able to chase, who will be our competition for the next 30K, sort of.
Yeah.
And yeah, so in this point of the race, we're like taking turns, trying to put down attacks, and yeah, these roads where there are even leaves that make it even harder and even more slippery. And I mean, you know, also normally Bart, how great his double push is and how long his stroke can be. He really has to adapt. He really has to have most of his weight under the body, and the pushes get a lot shorter.
Yeah.
The frequency goes up. So that's just how you have to, and still having those small slips, you know, that's what I meant with like looking for the grip limit. And he obviously in this moment when he's attacking, he's sometimes crossing the grip limit.
Yeah, but it's amazing to see how much of a feel like you guys actually have for it, and how quickly you're able to adapt to it. Because I remember like I spent a good 30-40 minutes before I was actually really comfortable with it. It was a whole thing, like going down in the back of the pack. I refused to skate in a group because people were slipping left and right.
For sure.
And it was only after like 30K that I felt comfortable enough to skate in a group. Then we went into a roundabout, and the two guys in front of me slipped.
Oh.
Yeah.
Especially in the corners. It's just so tricky, and I guess, you know, we also never really get comfortable in the rain. It's not like we can relax in this in these situations under these conditions. We are also the whole time under tension a lot.
Yeah. You can actually see it there, because usually you go way further in under the body in your double push.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and the stroke is also like, it's quite small. You don't
quite
push.
short.
Yeah,
exactly.
quite short.
Because if you don't have enough body weight under your push, you'll simply slip away.
Yeah.
So most of the push is really happening right under the body.
That makes sense. I think, oh yeah, here's going to be another crash. I saw this earlier. There's some who are going into the sidewalk and just sliding out of the corners.
You could see like right-hand corner, quite tricky itself, but then in these conditions, Sandrine Tas also kind of like,
it's
having not the best time, I guess.
No. Oh, is that, that's you trying to break away as well?
Yeah, I'm kind of, actually in this moment I'm more like covering an attack.
Okay.
Yeah, you can see also like the guy in front, Elton D'Souza, like he's usually more of a sprinter guy, but he's a really good rain skater. He chose a great setup that day, and that enables him to be in a marathon on the attack. Yeah. Which would, to be honest, usually it would not happen under like, let's say, regular conditions, but Yeah. That just shows like different conditions, different types of skaters can rise to the top, and yeah, at this point I know already. Okay, we will not be able to break away. It's just about controlling the pack, keeping it all together, keeping Bart and me in the mix.
Yeah.
And the group has already thinned out like a lot. Now at this point we have maybe like 30 guys still left in the main pack.
Yeah.
And it's only gonna be less at this point because also Nolan Bediaf, like again one of the best rain skaters in the world, is really putting the hammer down and really trying to force a split in this situation. And you can see the guys at the back of the pack just simply not able to follow the pace anymore.
Yeah, this is also rough because it is a slight uphill. I remember this very distinctly. Like that's one of the harder parts of the course, because it's an ever slight incline. It's not much, but it's
and it goes on
noticeable.
for 2 or 3K, so it's really like one of the hard moments in the race. And obviously Nolan took a good moment for his move there.
Yeah. Oh, still the slipperiness.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But the pack has thinned out somewhat at this point.
Yeah,
so what is
like 20 guys still left in the first?
Yeah. Well, what usually, because we talked a little bit, that was before the cameras went rolling. Like how much are you guys able to cover normally? Like.
Yeah, I mean, usually we don't even want to get into this position. Like our goal with Bart, Jason and me is usually that we want to be the ones who go on the attack and not be the ones who have to chase.
Yeah.
Obviously that day it was a little bit different. So I also like Bart and me, we don't need to speak during an event like this, but I know that Bart is not feeling his best because he would never be so far back in the pack. You see him there towards the end of the first group while there are attacks happening. And I sort of know by racing with him for so many years and that he's not comfortable. He's not at his best. Yeah. And that already makes me like use my strengths now to be able to cover as many attacks as I can. Yeah. And obviously there's a limit. If those guys would have been taking turns and attacking after another without me getting much help, then maybe at some point I would have cracked and need to let something go. But luckily this was not the case. I remember I took off my glasses at some point because I couldn't see anything anymore, and actually lost them.
Oh no!
Lost them at some point, so that was a bit of a bummer that day. But nevertheless, in the end, it didn't matter too much anymore.
Because you're trying to break away at this point.
Yeah, I guess this is sort of the last little dig I've been putting in, like still trying to force a decision. Like obviously, I also didn't feel like 100% confident in my sprint. I knew that Bart is not feeling, let's say, at the top of his game. So it would have been still nice to create a situation where we don't have to reach the finish line with like 15 other guys. Yeah. So I think it was like my last little go. And while I see the bandages on my left leg, I also remembers that basically in my last final hard hit out before Berlin, I sort of had quite a nasty crash. And crashing alone is shitty, and it's not ideal for recovery and for sleep and so on. Yeah. But if you also have to race with it in these conditions, like it wasn't great, and actually afterwards, like the wounds got infected and so on. Because, like,
really?
Because they got like so wet and dirty and so on. Not that it mattered much, but it was definitely. I was definitely struggling with it after a while. But yeah, also here Nolan still still not giving up, sort of, still trying to force a decision, but Bart obviously recovering a bit and feeling better than towards the middle of the race, being right behind him, and helping with covering the front.
Yeah, because we're also, this is like quite a fast bit of, or like a fast part of the course, because we're coming back down the hill from the other side and about very close to turning in towards Brandenburger. Yeah, so at this point the pack has actually thinned quite a bit more. It's still a bigger bunch.
Yeah, so
did you clip skates?
No, he was just hitting a pothole or something, I think. But you know, like these moments, like could have been the end of his race and my race as well. Like there's just one tiny little moment where there's a mistake happening. Doesn't even have to be my own. And boom.
Just done.
It would have been all different, because at this point we have maybe 3 or 4 minutes still left to race.
Yeah.
So if you got a crash there, there's no coming back anymore.
No.
We are only, I think, about 10-12 guys. Yeah. Actually, Timothy Lubineau is losing contact right there in the background. So from Powerslide, it's only Bart and me left.
Yeah.
And then think by this moment we know 99% it's going to be a sprint finish.
Yeah.
And also without speaking about it, it's sort of we sort of know, like, we will both have to have a dig in the sprint. Usually it's really clear, like we have a race plan before and we know, like, okay, Bart is usually trying to break away. Then maybe it depends on in what sort of shape we are. Maybe if it's a sprint, then maybe the sprint is for me, or I know I will have to lead out, for example, Jason until 250 meters to go, stuff like that. But in these conditions, it was like, okay, we are both not feeling perfect. We are struggling with the conditions, but we will just try to position ourselves as much to the front as possible, and we will both have a go. And you will see in just a little bit that Bart does it in his unique way. Like he starts to hit the front really early, and do like a really long sprint, which can be sometimes in the rain can be really a good idea, because passing is super hard. And I'm taking more of a safety approach, I would say. I'm positioning myself behind Nolan, which at this point we identified as our main threat for the win. Yeah.
Okay, so you're covering him basically.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to follow him as good as I can.
Before that, I believe there's a bit of a hurdle, because I distinctly remember Brandenburger Tor this year.
Oh yeah.
So for those who haven't raced in Berlin before, you go under Brandenburger. It is absolutely beautiful when it is dry. When it's wet, because it's granite tiles, which provide zero grip. There is nothing.
Yeah, that's true.
When it's wet, there's nothing for the wheels to dig into. No texture, no surface. Like, it's smooth granite basically. So it's like walking on ice with shoes basically.
I think we're going through the last corner now.
Yeah.
And basically...
Yeah, that's when Bart hits the front now.
Yeah.
For the first time.
So as I said, Bart goes to the front really early, and because we know the uniqueness of this finish, and we know the tricky conditions with the stones. It's even more important to hit the stones with as much speed as possible, because basically it's already in the dry, it's super hard to accelerate on them, but in the wet it's basically impossible.
I think you can more or less see it when you hit it, because most of you almost stop pushing.
It's basically just surviving and carrying as much speed over them as possible. Yeah, basically Bart is by now not only closing down the last attack, but also sort of using the guy in front to start his own sprint.
Yeah.
And by doing this, by like hitting the front so early with basically a kilometer to go, he is also sending me the signal, it's on you today, mate.
Yes.
Because obviously it's far from ideal to be so early in the wind and starting the sprint so early. So by choosing this tactic, Bart is sending me the signal, I'm not feeling perfect. You might have to do the job today.
Yeah. You also have to understand how slippery this is. Like you really need momentum
crazy
when hitting it, when going in on Brandenburger. And yeah, the stretch afterwards was something like 300 meters. Oh yeah, you almost had a collision there. Yeah. That was quite close.
So now we're off the stones and Nolan is passing Bart. I'm right in the draft. Yeah. And the moment Nolan is now passing Bart, I know, okay, shit, it's on me now.
Yeah.
And
I see you opening your sprint.
Stepping out of the draft, and as you can see, given everything I've got, every little bit of energy I got left in my body, trying to bring it on the road. And yeah, in the end, luckily taking that very emotional win, and yeah, one of the biggest wins of my career, and one of the most beautiful wins also. And yeah, as you can see, first thing I do is looking for my teammate, trying to give him a hug. Yeah, I really felt like that day was like a huge team effort, and yeah, for me that race showed also why we are so strong as the Powerslide team. We are not working every man for himself. We are working as a unit, and even if our leader Bart is having struggles, then it's my job or one of the other guys' job to jump in and step in and trying to get the victory, which worked out perfectly.
Yeah. No, you can really see how much that one meant to you, and still means.
Oh, for sure. Like even now, 5 years later, I still get emotional. Like looking at those pictures. Yeah, also nice moment getting to hug Scotty at the finish line. He was our team manager at that time, also my personal coach, and so it was also yeah, a victory for him, I guess. And yeah, for me, like Berlin, biggest marathon in the world, winning it as the first German male ever and the first German since, yeah, was obviously crazy, and yeah, a day I will not forget, and I always like to look back at. So thanks for coming up with this idea, Kasper.
Yeah, of course.
I hope we could offer some nice insights into what is actually going on in a race like that. And yeah, if you people enjoyed it, then please let us know. And
yes, then we'll do it again. We'll bring Felix back when he wins this year.
Fingers crossed. I'm not making any promises. But yeah, comment below like which other races you would like to hear, see, and have us speak about, and then we try to make it happen.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for joining.
No worries.